Okay, so we're gonna begin now. We're gonna start. Type. Before we start, let me just make sure everything is ready. Okay, so Assalamu alaikum everyone, and today is our third class or the third lesson of this series. I hope the series would last for about 2 more weeks, where we're going to finish all the alphabet along with its quirks and features. That includes the Hamza, a letter that we're going to be exposed to in the next lesson, I hope. But before we start lesson 3, we have to recap what we've learned in lesson 1 and 2. A quick recap. Lesson 1, we've learned that we've learned about our 4 new consonants, or the first 4 consonants of the lesson, which is the noon, the ba, the dal, and waw. And then we took a kind of a quick overview on the vowel systems in Arabic, that we've learned that we have three pairs of vowels. Uh, and these vowels divide into long and short, short, long. And we learned 2 of these vowels. We will get to them in a bit. And then we've took an overview over the stress of how we stress certain words in Arabic. Uh, and then we've learned our first phonetic phenomenon of Arabic, which is the sukun, which is basically a small circle we put over consonants, and strictly consonants, which means that this letter ba has no vowel. It is pronounced as b, uh, as in contrast to, let's say, ba with a fatha and ba with a dhamma. We would pronounce this as ba and this one as bu. Meanwhile, the ba sukun is b. شكرا يوسف. And then we've learned a concept called voicing. Voicing is basically a very fun concept that you can experiment with on your free time. It is basically voicing in phonetics is your ability to produce vibrations in your voice box, in your larynx, or in the bony part of your neck. In the middle of your neck, there is a bony part that you can feel. This is where your voice happens, basically, where you can speak, where your vocal cords are. And voicing, when it comes to certain sounds in all phonetics, they basically divide into 2 main categories. Either a sound is voiced or unvoiced or voiceless. And the difference here is that does this sound produce vibrations in my voice box or not? So let's take an example and try to pronounce the sound s. S. If you put your hand on your voice box and try, you would notice that there are no vibrations, like s, s. But on the other hand, if you try with the sound as the, and while you're having your fingers or your hand on your voice box or your larynx, you'd notice that your larynx vibrates. So we'd call s, or the s sound, as unvoiced, while the sound is voiced. And why we're learning this? Because maybe later in the future we would kind of start to differentiate different sounds by their properties or by their features when it comes to, their phonetic features. And then we had an quick overview over the punctuation marks in Arabic, how that the question mark in Arabic is reversed because Arabic is a right to left language, unlike English, which is, mirrored. Lesson 2, we had something. We learned more consonants. We learned the consonant the and t, th, and y, and mim. And again, I am going to go back to ye and say that ye is one of those letters that has a consonant value or has a consonant feature, and it can also be an indicator for a long vowel. And we will see how that happens in this lesson. Meme as well is one of the consonants we've learned. The second pair of vowels we've learned the previous lesson was the dhamma, or the u sound, and basically it is like fatha, and it's like, let's say there's a letter, and in fatha we write a small stroke on top of the letter. but in Dhamma, we just put a small noon-looking thing. It's basically a small wow. And it changes the vowel, or it changes the sound of b into bu. The wow also shares the same feature as the ya, where it can be also a consonant and a long vowel. And we know that if you have a ba that has a dhamma, this wow will act like its long vowel. So we'll pronounce this as boo, boo, unlike bu, bu. This one would be boo because it's a long vowel. And this wow will indicate that the dhamma here is basically a long one. And also we've learned something very important, which is called the double consonants. Basically, double consonants, it's the long vowels, but when it comes to consonants. And we mark it by something we call shadda. Basically, it's written like this. And ironically, even the word shadda has a shadda. And we put like a small like head of the letter sin on top of the dal, and we mark it that this letter is doubled, as we don't pronounce it shadda, we pronounce it shadda. The consonant sound is prolonged or emphasized. To refresh our memory on this concept, we also can use it. We can hear it in English. In this example here, if we go to the oops, it's a dhamma, but I'm going for the shadda. Sorry. So shadda, we can see it in this part here that English has double consonants phonetically, and we say them while we are unaware of their existence, which occur in two word combinations. Of course, it's not in the same word, but if you say the word bookcase, or unnatural, you would realize that the n sound and the ke sound are doubled, or like prolonged, compared to bookish or natural. Arabic also, as we said, that it just adds a small shadda. There's another thing we have to refresh our minds on is that shadda also can take a vowel, or the letter of the shadda can take a vowel, and basically this is the shadda and can take a dhamma written on top of it, and the shadda can take a fatha also written on top of it. So shadda, shaddu, shaddi, it can take all the vowels. So I think that's a quick recap for the things we've learned in the past, and now we're going to jump into lesson 3. In this lesson, we're going to learn 3 easy consonants and 1 difficult one. This one has no English equivalent, so it will take a little bit of focus to kind of try to imitate the sound. But the first 3 the first 3 are kind of easy, and they are manageable, as we can imitate the sounds even if your native tongue does not contain the sound. And we'll take our last pair of vowels, which is the kasra, as it's a small little thing that we write under the letter, like it will be here, and we would just call it kasra, because if you notice your mouth, when you say the sound E, you kind of have to lower your lips a little bit, as like you feel something is breaking in the inside, or you have to break the natural state of your mouth to produce that sound. So E, kasra, the sound means to break. Oh, the meaning is relate to breaking. And the kasra sounds like the E in pit, I, and the long vowel ya or E as in the machine, machine. Of course, we're not going to add any more because the letter Sad is going to take a good chunk of our time to kind of analyze the sound and try to find tricks and tips to kind of reproduce that sound correctly. So let's jump right in. The letter tha. Tha, I know some languages do not have the sound. Like I know for a fact Turkish doesn't have it. But English does, but it is not kind of presented in the alphabet as its own letter. It's basically a combination of two consonants, the th. Um, and in Arabic, fortunately, if you can pronounce the letter th, is basically the same sound you do in 3, or thin, thick, or think, or ether. Th. So, now for those who do not have it in their native tongue, How I would describe it to you is, let's jump ahead a little bit and focus on this picture. This is basically where most of the sounds you create in your mouth, and they're labeled. The letter th, what you're going to do to produce that sound is you're going to bring the tip of your tongue here and bring it and let that tip touch your frontal teeth. Th, th. But touch, but does not close. You do not block the airflow. You have to produce some sort of friction. You know, if you put your tip of the tongue on your front teeth and push a little bit of air, you start to produce the sound th, th, th. If you close the airflow, you're going to produce the letter t, 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 because that's how you do t. Basically, you close your teeth, you close you put your tongue under or behind your front teeth and push some air in, and you get the sound t. But the sound th, you'd have to bring the tip and put it like somewhere here with a little bit of gap and push air, and you would realize that you're making the sound th, th, th. We'll get to this image when they get to the letter Sad because it's important. Um, let's talk about the th feature when it comes to phonetics. Basically, it's a consonant, so it cannot be a vowel, but that is entirely distinct from the. As in, what kind of distinction? As the is, as we said, voiced, and th is unvoiced. As what do we mean by unvoiced and voiced? As we mentioned, if you're able to produce the sound th, put your hand on your voice box and produce the sound th. You would realize that your voice box or your larynx does not vibrate, as in your vocal cords do not vibrate when you produce the sound th. While the sound the, because the and th in English are both presented by th. Arabic has a huge differentiation between both. It's basically their own separate sounds. So the is voiced, as in if you produce the sound the, you notice that your larynx is vibrating. So that's how we distinguish these two sounds from each other. Let's compare the sounds here. So this one, I would pronounce it as, notice there's a shadda over the meme, and shadda with fatha. So how would I pronounce it? I would pronounce it as, the has a fatha, and meme has a fatha with shadda, so I would pronounce it as them, 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 them. Meaning wise, dhamma means to slander, but I'm just telling you the meaning so you just, you're not in the dark. This one here, we have also the same vowel combination. There's a fatha here and there's a shadda on the meme, shadda fatha on the meme, but I'll pronounce it thamma, 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 thamma. I'm sorry if there's like air blowing into the mic because basically th is a plosive, as in like there's a small passage of air that comes out of your mouth. So while the tip of your tongue is kind of touching the lower part of your teeth, like not touching, but there's a small gap that allows air to go through it. Uh, so uh, the writing of the letter tha is very simple. It's very similar to, oops, sorry. It's very similar to ta and very similar to ba, although there are 3 dots on top of the letter instead of 2. So because ta is 2 letters and tha basically has 3. So that's how we write them. And as we've learned from the previous lesson, we follow this table that shows that, letter tha is basically a connector. What does a connector mean? That means it's a sticky letter. It connects to either the letters that are before it, or the letters that are following it, or the letters that are on both sides. It connects to both of them. And it can present itself as an independent or a standalone letter. And how would we write them? So let's look at the standalone letter where it comes it comes after a letter that does not connect, like the alif. The alif does not connect to something after it. So how would I pronounce this? Let's break it down with the same method we've used before. Okay, there's an alif here, right? But there's no haraka, there's no vowel on the ba. So automatically I would assume that the ba has a fatha. And the alif is basically a long vowel. So I would pronounce it as ba, ba, bath, 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 bath. And that would be exactly the transliteration of the English bath. If the letter th comes joined to the previous letter, it would basically retain its standalone shape, but I would just hook it to what comes before it. So let's start reading this one. This one we have to make sure that there's a shadda on the th, so we have to be careful when pronouncing it. So ba has a fatha, so it's ba, but the th has a shadda and fatha. So how would I pronounce it? It's batha, 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 batha. Batha is basically to scatter things or things that are chaotic or random. We call it batha. Uh, of course, after I'm done with this table, if anyone wants to give it a shot by practicing or reading it, they can raise their hands and I'll make them come on stage. So the th, when it's joined by the following letter. So basically, back in the days, we said that the boat gets chunked and we have the seat of the boat. So that's what happens. So when th is either word initial and like in the beginning of the word or following or in the middle of a word following a non-connector, like wow, wow does not connect to what's after it. So how would I pronounce this? Wow here is not a vowel. Why? Because wow has a fatha, so it's a consonant. How would I pronounce it? Wa, wa, wa. So basically, it would translate to like this. Wa. So how would I pronounce wa? Tha has a fatha and ba has a fatha. So I would say wathaba, watha, wathaba, 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 wathaba. Wathaba is to basically kind of jump. Um, okay, this one is the th joined on both sides. The boat gets chunked, but the seat remains. You know, the boat gets chunked, all of it, but just the seat remains, and it gets connected to what's after it, what's before it. Sorry. So it's basically a small seat in the middle of your writing. Again, I remind you that if you want to practice handwriting in Arabic, you can, and it's a completely legit and valid way to imitate the printed Arabic. The printed Arabic does not differ much from handwritten Arabic. And for a beginner, if you can manage to actually imitate this very well, to me, that is very good handwriting, a lot better than some, like I would say even better than my own. Um, how would I pronounce this again? So let's break down the letters. The f has a fatha, the th has a fatha, the b has a fatha, the t has a fatha. So basically, it's all a sound. So I would start fa tha, fa tha, ba ta, fathabata, 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 fathabata. So, uh, I would read them again quickly in case if someone wants to refresh and before they come up on stage and read them. So it's bath, bath, like okay, wait, bath, batha, batha, wathaba, wathaba, fathabata, fathabata, fathabata. Of course, there will be a lot of reading here too. So anyone wants to read these ones, or should we continue to the normal ones, to the like the big one? Big one it is then. Okay. So anyone wants to? I'm going to take the row A, and then four brave people amongst you would volunteer and read B, C, and D. So A, we're just gonna start with 1 to 5. So okay, this one, number one, how would I pronounce the meme? We've learned that if there's no vowel on the consonant before an alif, we assume that it's a fatha, so it's a long vowel sound. So it's math, math, which is exactly the transliteration of the English math. Okay, now this is an interesting one because we know that there's a tha fatha, and there's a meme that has a dhamma here, and followed by a waw. So that means that the waw is a long vowel. It's not a short one. So how would I pronounce it? Thamud, Thamud, Thamud. As if, let's imagine that by the magic of writing, I write it like this. Oop, 1 second. Let's just, you know, and this is like sukun. I don't want to pronounce the last vowel. How would I pronounce this? I remove the long vowel. It would be, instead of Thamud, it would be Thamuda, 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 or Thamud, if I'm going to say it in sukun. Thamud or Thamuda, if there is a fatha here. But long vowel waw is Thamud, Thamud. So number 3 is, let's assume there's a sukun here. This is ta, by the way. I know like the dots may be confusing, but this is the 2 dots of the ta, and these are the 3 dots of the tha. So I would pronounce it as ta, tha, ta, tha, tathab, 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 tathab. Okay. Number 4, here we see that the meme has a fatha, the ba has a fatha, and the tha has a shadda. And if you see a shadda without any vowel, you'd assume that it's a shadda with a sukun. At this stage of learning Arabic. Later on, things were different, but now I'm just focusing on the vowel sounds and the sound of the consonants themselves, not the actual words or their meanings. Some of these words are just random combinations of letters. So how would I pronounce this? Is mabath, 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 ma, ba, mabath. The th sound is stressed. It's not mabatha, it's mabath, or mabatha if I put a fatha here. It's mabatha. Maybe the tha sound with shadda is a bit difficult to hear over Discord, but if you hear it with someone saying it slowly in front of you, you can tell the quality that, oh, this tha is stressed, this tha is doubled. You might be hearing the shadda more with other consonants, like in this word. Here, the tha has a fatha. The meme has a shadda with a fatha on, and the noon has a fatha. So how would I pronounce this? I would pronounce this as thammana, 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 thammana. Let's assume again that I would write it like this. This is tha, this is noon, right? And let's put fatha over everything without shadda. How would I pronounce it? I pronounce it thamana, thamana, thamana. Compare it to thammana, thammana, thammana. You can tell how the meme is more emphasized, how it's more doubled. Thammana and thamana, thamana. So, brave students, anyone wants to attempt B or B, you can raise your hand and I'll get you on stage. Of course, if you don't want to, we can, there's nothing, no one is being coerced. Oh, Maya, yeah, please, invite to speak. Let's go. Hello, Maya. Hello. Yeah, let's start with B1, yes. So B1. Mm-hmm. Wath, wath. Okay, number 2. Mm-hmm. Method, method, exactly. Okay, this one might be a bit tricky, but give it a shot. If you want, you can just read every letter on its own and then just give it a go. Buson, yes, exactly. Buson. Number 4, mabsuth, yes. And again, for people who are listening, the th here basically has no haraka. Why? Because we know that the waw now is indicating it's a long vowel. So it's mabsuth, mabsuth, mabsuth. Uh, And last one, number 4, Maya, please. Bathyatha. Bathyatha. Of course. Yes, that's perfect. That's perfect. Bathyatha. Bathyatha. The ya here is not a consonant because it has a fatha, so it's a it's a consonant, not a vowel, because it has a fatha, so it's bathyatha. Bathyatha. Thank you very much, Maya. Great work. Anyone wants? Yes. By the way, I remembered something. If you're having difficulty with the letter tha, it is understandable because usually even like kids in Arabic speaking countries, like kids that are native Arabs, basically, they take a while until they develop that skill of putting the tip of their tongue right underneath the front teeth. That skill takes a time to develop, and it requires a lot of training. And you would realize that a lot of kids would pronounce the th as s, but once they grow up, they start, having more control over their organs of speech, and they can produce that sound. So it's the same case for you. If you cannot produce this sound, you will eventually be able to do it if you practice it enough, if you hear it enough, and if you try to bring your tongue or the tip of your tongue underneath your front teeth. So number or row C. Anyone wants to take number C or give it a shot? Tara Kitty, what say you? You want to raise your hand? Nothing, no one is forcing you, but I'm just suggesting. Okay, apparently, okay, sure. So then I'll just read them. If no one wants to read them. Uh, yeah. Uh, okay. Sorry, I was distracted with something. So row C is number 1 is going to be ba and da and tha, but the ba has a fatha, the da has a fatha, and the tha is sukun. And let's assume it's sukun just for the sake of clarity. So I would pronounce it as badath, badath, badath. Here, number 2, yeah, I admit that there is a bit of inconsistency when it comes to writing the dhamma over long vowels, but uh, so the dhamma over the th followed by a waw, we instantly know that it is a long vowel. Oh God, sorry. So how would I pronounce it? Is sum, 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 and that would be garlic. Number 3, yeah, number 3 is ta has a fatha, so it's ta, ta. The th has no vowel because the alif notes that it's a long vowel fatha, so it's ta tha, ta tha, ta tha. Wow is not a long vowel. Why? Because it has a fatha, so it's a consonant, so it's ta tha wa, ta tha wa. And the b has a fatha, so it's ta tha wa ba, ta tha wa ba, which means he yawned, basically. Uh, this one resembles the one we've like thamana. Remember, like resembles this one. How would I pronounce it? The th has a fatha, and the m has a fatha. The noon has a sukoon, and I would pronounce it as thaman, 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 thaman. Basically, okay, I'm gonna digress a little bit here. I'm gonna go outside of our topic. But as if you might have read that Arabic is basically employs a very fascinating root system. And what we mean by root system is that you basically the majority of words in Arabic, like all those words, like the whole dictionary, most of the words in that dictionary, you can trace them back to a 3-letter root. As let's say the letter from the letters we've learned as ka, ta, and ba. This root, in general, gives a meaning of writing, like a general abstract meaning of writing something. And if we form the verb kataba, it means to write, or he writes. Oh, sorry, he wrote. Uh, if I, let's say, use the same three letters but put it in a different pattern and say, you notice that the kaf, the t and b are still there, but we added an alif. We added a long vowel alif. So now it's katib. Katib means writer. Let's take another example. Let's say this one is kitaba. 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 This ta marbuta, we'll get to it later, but for the sake of just explaining this little point or just giving more light, this word means writing. As in you were saying, I like writing, you know, the gerund or the infinitive. Same thing here. Here, the word thaman, thaman means value or price. But if we look at this one here, this becomes a verb. The verb thammana means to estimate a value or to give something or to estimate the price of something. So this is how Arabic works in the general grand scheme of things. Arabic is basically a root system, and from one single root you can like basically derive and create new words. Of course, there are rules and patterns you can follow. You cannot just randomly create words. But once you get to that point, it becomes fascinating. It becomes almost like a mental Lego, like a kind of a game that, oh, I can put these letters, I can substitute these roots in this pattern, and boom, I just got a word with a complete meaning, but it kind of relates to the original meaning of the root. Let's continue. Summa, th has a dhamma, and the meme is doubled with a fatha, so it's thumma, thumma, thumma. Thumma means something like after, or so on, but it's a conjunction. It's not a word in its own. Uh, row D. Does anyone want to take row D? It's a lot easier than the previous one. Uh, okay. No one. Okay, I'll do it then. So row D is da or dal with a fatha. The wow has a sukun, so it's no way a consonant because the letter before it has a fatha. It's not a dhamma. Uh, how would I pronounce this? Dawth, 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 dawth. If I put a fatha here, it would be dawatha or dawath, dawath. But there's a sukun, so it's dawth, dawth. This one. Also, these are random combinations of letters. If there was a meaning, I would basically kind of point it out. This one is fa with a fatha, da with a fatha, tha with a fatha, so I would pronounce it as fadatha, fadatha, fadatha. Now, even if you don't want to practice or like you want to come on stage and it's completely normal and I won't punish you for it, but at least I hope that even behind the screen you're trying to imitate the sounds and try to pronounce it out loud to kind of start training your tongue, your organs of speech, your mouth on producing the letters. And that is the philosophy I hope that you follow throughout these lessons. Uh, I mean, I would have not kind of did all the reading if I didn't want you to kind of start practicing or training your like your tongue and your mouth. I could have just told you like this letter is called tha. Okay, let's go, bye bye. But let's continue. We've got to this one, so it's noon has a dhamma. The tha, if we look really close, there is nothing on top of the tha, but there's a waw, so we assume there is a dhamma. So how would I pronounce it? Nuthub, 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 Nuthub. This one, it's very easy. There are no long vowels, only short. So the noon has a fatha, meme has a fatha, tha, for the sake of clarity, has a sukun. So I would say it's namath, namath, Namath. Namath. Uh, Now, this is another case of how one short little tiny vowel can change meaning. Uh, we said that this one is thumma, 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 and we said that it has a meaning when it connected to other things that could be so or after. But thamma, th, thamma, thamma means there. But of course, this is an old way of using things. Well, it's an archaic word. No one is using it, but it exists in the Quran, you know, and you will face it. You will see it in the Quran, or like a very poetic kind of text. But it's not common in everyday use, modern standard Arabic. We just use the word hunaka or there. Row E, still no takers? I'll give you an imaginary cookie. Okay, terror kitty. Okay, well, I think food actually motivates everyone. Okay. Hello, Terror. You're on stage. You can unmute and attempt row E, and we're starting from 1 to 5. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna zoom it. Mm-hmm. Sadath, exactly. This one? Mm-hmm. Perfect. Perfect. Wethan, exactly. And now this one, I want you to think about this one. Perfect. Perfect. Nathib, because the b here has a kasra, right? And the kasra is followed by a ya, so it's a long vowel. So it's nathib. Nathib. Thank you, Ter. I owe you a cookie. Thank you. Okay. So from these words, this one would mean something like an idol, or like something that was used to be worshipped back in the pagan days. Wethan. Betha also means to stream or to scatter things. Okay. So before we jump to the next letter, anyone has any questions about the letter th or th? You can write it down. You can raise your hand to ask it on stage if you want. Uh, okay, no one is writing anything in discussion, and no one is raising their hand. Okay, Tara, okay. I hope it's a question. Let's go. Okay, I invited you to speak. You can come up to speak and ask your question. Yeah. Oh, yes, that's a good question. Difference between the and the. Basically, this one and this one, right? Let's start with their English counterpart because that's how you would kind of start to differentiate them. The here in English, it's transliterated as there, there, but the is like the th in thought. The and the. Now, if we're going to look at it from like a sound point of view, the you basically the gap you put. So the whole trick between the th and the is one, the as we said, your voice box vibrates when you say it. So if you say the word there, you'd notice that when you're pronouncing the, your voice, you know, the your voice box kind of vibrates, while in th it doesn't. That's difference number one. Difference number two, which is the most major one, it all has to do with the tip of your tongue. And we'll go to the picture again. So this is the tip of your tongue, right? Here. This is the tip of your tongue, like the pointy end of your tongue, basically. The pointy tongue of the pointy end of your tongue when you're attempting the letter the, you bring it to your frontal teeth. You bring it here, but you almost close it. You allow very little amount of air to be produced, to be let out, and you end up with the sound the, the. But when it comes to the letter th, basically you bring it to your front teeth, but you leave a bigger gap compared to the one with the letter the. But the letter th, first, more of your tongue will be out after your tongue would basically be here, the tip of your tongue will be here, and there's a gap. And then you can produce the sound th. And like Tara, if like English is your mother tongue, I guess. So the and the difference between them, like your ability to produce them, is not going to be difficult. But this is how I would see the difference between th and the when it comes to producing the sound. Any other questions, or is it clear, Tara Kitty? You're welcome. Okay. So I assume there are no more questions when it comes to the letter th. So we're going to jump to the letter ra. Ra. Of course, like even if you have questions later on, if of course this PDF is going to be available in the lessons forum. Even later on, if you want to kind of re-practice or practice the pronunciation of these words again, and you found any question, always feel free to tag me and I was like, yeah, this one, can you explain it to me again? And I'll be more than happy to do so. So like even if you have questions later on, don't feel shy or pressured into not asking. So we're going to attempt the second consonant of the day, which is the letter ra. Ra, it depends. It's kind of it exists in English, but in English it's a bit different. It's a bit different when it comes to the quality of the sound of it. In English, let's start with English first because we're more familiar with English at this point. The letter ra or the sound r, and kind of when I say English, I kind of more refer to American English or like the North American English because that's the English I speak. Um, and I base all my phonetic findings on American English. So when I say the letter R is more vowel than consonant in American English, if you kind of slow down or kind of bring my speech to a very slow point, like like 0.5 speed basically in YouTube, you would notice the English R is more vowely than actual consonant. It does not have like this consonant element to it as much. It has a vowel element to it. Okay, how do we say that? What do we mean by this? If you look, R like R has the quality of R, R, R. And I'm strictly speaking about American English. Maybe British English does it in a different way, but I don't speak British English. But in American, it sounds more of an sound. There is a tongue flap or a tongue tip action going on, but we call this a rolled back tongue. And if you try to imitate the American accent and say red rat, you would notice that your lips come or become rounded. Red rat, red rat, red rat. Now, why is the r sound happening? Because the tip of my tongue gets turned a little bit back. It folds over itself a little bit. R, r, r. Basically, my tongue becomes like if this is if this is my tongue, like in a cut section, my tongue would be like r, rolled, a rolled R. That's how they call it in American English. Like the American English has a rolled R, as in your tongue rolls back a little bit. Now, like remember this word, red rat. Now, some children, even in American English, kind of cannot flip their tongues backward. They cannot do that flip. They cannot like bend their tongue like this. And when they try to say the letter R, it comes out as w. And I think a lot of you have heard a kid say widwat, we, because they could not bend their tongue backwards. So basically, what happened is they're trying to produce the R sound, but they cannot roll their tongue. Why am I telling you about American English? Because Arabic is kind of different. Arabic, the R sound or the R sound is kind of a consonant. It's not a vowel sound. It doesn't have that sound, the quality. It's strictly R, R. It doesn't have any vowel element to it. It's strictly sound consonant. It's basically like the Spanish re. It's perro. It's a strict hard R. Uh, Arabic, on the other hand, is a consonant. It's a tongue flap, like in the R. Now, what do we mean by flap? If we look here, we said like, oh, it's turned or rolled, but flap. Try to say the British or the Spanish perro, and you'd notice that your tongue kind of flaps, like it kind of vibrates or kind of wiggles. That's how we mean by flap, or caro in Italian, caro, ro. There's sort of like whoop, quick flap, but the tongue does not turn, does not fold on its back. But your tongue goes to your front teeth and just flaps, and that's it. So it's r, 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 r. And produced by tapping the tongue of or the tip of the tongue once quickly behind the upper teeth. So your tip of your tongue goes at your upper teeth and just like taps it. Re, 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 re. A tongue flap that actually exists in English, T in between vowels. Like later, later, later. We don't say later, we say later. Like the tongue kind of flaps. A quick flap, but it kind of deletes the sound of the T. But I'm talking about the tongue action here, the tongue movement, as in being a flap. This is a bit too advanced in phonetics, but it just kind of shows you the difference between the Arabic R, or like the Arabic re, sorry, and the English R. Now, this is where the fun happens, is when the re sound gets doubled, as in it gets shadda. It becomes a trill. A trill is basically just your tongue goes like, and basically what it means, it's a rapid succession of many flaps. The sound does not exist in English, but it's best compared to the Spanish perro, 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 rrr. You know, you can actually feel like my tongue is like brrr. It's being trilling. It's rapid succession of flaps. So let's see about writing the letter ra or re. The letter re is a non-connector, as it does not connect to anything that is after it, and that shares the same feature with wa, with da, with the, and does not connect to following letters. So it only has two positions it can occur to, either independent on its own or joined to previous letters, in the middle of a sentence and followed, I'm sorry, previous, like a connector letter came before it. So let's zoom in and see how this sounds. How would I pronounce this word? Th has an alif, but no haraka, so we instantly know that it is a long vowel. Tha, thar, 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 thar. There's a sukun here. I'm kind of trilling my R to kind of make it more obvious. So it's thar, thar, thar. Joined, basically, it's uh, if you have difficulty making the curve, you can just do like this. I am completely fine with that. Absolutely perfect. Of course, the downward stroke, kind of like, if this is the line, I would write it like the ra, or the ra goes under the line a little bit. But how would I pronounce this one? So this is ba with a fatha, the re has a sukoon, or the ra sound has a sukoon, and the dal, assuming, has a sukoon because it's the end of the word. So it's bard, 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 which means cold. Bard. Anyways, reading practice. Any problem with the pronunciation or the sound of the re before we jump to reading? Mm, I would say no. Okay, so let's get back to reading. No one wants to read. Okay. So, reading practice. A, column A, or row A, sorry. Anyone wants to take row A? No one wants to take row A. Okay. I'll do it then. Okay, so row A, we'll start with 1. We'll zoom in. So, B has a fatha, the Re has a fatha, and the D has a fatha. So, it's barada, 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 barada. Now this one has a shadda, and remember we said when it has a shadda, it's a trill, so it's like rrr. So how would I say this is barra, 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 barra. This one is the meme has a sukun, meme has a fatha, sorry, and the re has a shadda fatha. So it's marra, marra, marra. The dal has a fatha, the re has a shadda fatha, and the be has a fatha. So it's darraba, darraba, darraba. And it means to train someone. Or this one, okay, the dal has a fatha, the re has a kasra. We didn't get the kasra, but and how we like in detail, but basically it's the e sound as we mentioned in the intro. So it's dariba, dari, dari, dariba, dariba, dariba. Anyone wants to take column B or row B? Sorry. Okay. So Maya, you will do B, and Hamso, you will do C. Is that okay? Okay, Maya. Narra, perfect. Dharra, yes. Tharada, Marana, Warima, Warima, Warima. Perfect, perfect. Thank you, Maya. Hamso, if you may please come to stage and read row C. Mm-hmm. Marada, perfect. 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 Better than I am. Thank you, man. Okay. That's actually very, very good. Uh, row D. Anyone feels interested? Turkey. Fancy another cookie? I guess not. So, uh, I will take row D myself, and if no one wants to do E as well, I'll take it. So this one is there's no fatha on the shadda on the meme shadda because it's an alif, so I know it's a long vowel alif. So it's rumman, 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 which is pomegranate. Meme has a fatha, the re has a shadda only, but it's followed by an alif, so I know it's a long vowel alif. And the t, let's assume it has a sukun, so it's marrat, marrat, marrat. Wait, my Algerian meme, what's confusing you exactly? Okay, so we will get to this one. نذر, 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 نذر. ثرة. ثرة. ثاء has a فتحة. The re has a شدة فتحة, so it's ثرة. ثرة. This one is ميم with a فتحة. ث with a شدة فتحة. And the dal has a فتحة, so it's مردة. 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 The uh, the the row E is actually very simple. Anyone wants to take it? It has no shadda, has nothing. Turkey. Okay, let's go. Yeah, let's start with number one. Perfect. Say it again. Be careful that the ta has a dhamma. Perfect. Tumur. Tumr. Tumr. Number four. Dair. 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 And last one is very simple, very easy. Nar. Fire. Nar. Nar. Thank you, Terra Kitty. Very good, by the way. Very good, by the way. Okay. Any questions with the letter Ra? Raise your question, raise your hand if you want to say it in stage, or you can type it before we jump over to the letter Sin. Okay, no questions, I guess. As again, as I say, it's either a bad sign or a good sign. But let's hope that you actually have no problems with it. Okay, let's jump to a simple letter. This one is the letter Sin. That's a very common sound in most languages. And if we were to jump right into it, the letter Sin corresponds to the English S in sad, sack, and sea. Now, I wrote this in gray because this is not an important thing, but it's just more detailed info that you can read if you want to kind of know more about the phonetics of it. But let's just go through it really quickly. But this is not essential to kind of learn the sound because I think most of us can produce the S sound. But the Arabic S is a dental sound produced with the tongue at the tip of the upper teeth. At the TikTok at the upper teeth. It does not cross the upper teeth, but it's there. It's like S, S, S. Like the tongue tip does not touch the upper teeth, but it's almost around that area of the upper teeth. The the English S is an alveolar. Alveolar, that means it's kind of, if you look at this image, you would see that this area behind your front teeth, this bony, ridgy area behind your front teeth, is called the alveolar ridge. And when you hear in phonetics something like someone says that this sound is alveolar, that means it's produced at this region, that your tongue comes in contact or close to this region. So the English S is an alveolar sound produced slightly behind, behind the teeth, giving it a slightly lower pitched S. This is a very nuanced kind of view to the letter, but if you know how to make the sound S, it would probably be the same in Arabic. Don't worry about it. No one is going to tell the difference unless if someone actually kind of has a sharp ear. As we've seen, letter S is a connector. It means it connects to three positions and it can happen independently. How would we read or see these? Of course, how would you write it is basically very simple. Imagine this is the line where we're going to write on. Basically, you do like 1, 2, 3. It has a little tiny billy at the end. So in the independent form, I would pronounce this as, there's a fatha here because there's an alif, so it's basa, basa, basa. Join to the previous letter, As in, you would basically, whatever you're writing and it's final, you would go like, oop, 1, 2, 3. And I would pronounce this as meme fatha, and the s has a shadda fatha, so it's massa, 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 massa. And this means to come in contact with something, in physical contact. Uh, Joined to the following letter, aha, this is where it happens. The scene loses the belly, and it becomes like 1, 2, 3, and you continue. And this word, how do I pronounce it? Is a very easy one. There's a fatha, 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 so it's samana, 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 samana. Joined on both sides, basically, you'd still lose the belly, but then you would go like 1, 2, 3, and you continue. Or you can do it a lot better than I did. It's like 1, 2, 3, and continue. This one is a very common word, but I missed the tashkil or the harakat, the voweling. But you might see this word in a different form or different harakat. It's like, oops, there's another two. So it's bismi, bismi, in the name of, and you would hear it a lot in Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, as in the bi, s, the sin has a sukun and the meme has a kasra. Bismi. But here it's basama. Basama is smile, or he smiled. Okay. I believe there are no issues with the letter sin, so we jump to reading it and practicing it. I hope that a lot of people would practice because this is a simple sound to make. It's not a difficult one, but I want people to actually start reading or like start producing the sound. Anyone wants to give a shot? Anyone wants to read? Okay, no one. So, I would do it. A1. Okay. The S has a fatha and the B has a shadda and fatha, so it's sabba, 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 sabba. Sabba is to kind of curse at someone or swear at someone. This one we've read previously, it's basama, basama, basama. Now this S has no fatha, but there's an alif, so it's a long vowel alif, and the dal has a fatha, so it's sada, sada, sada. And this where this verb root or this verb is the word Sayyid comes from. Sayyid or Mr. Uh, this one we've read in the examples previously. It's massa, to come in contact. Massa. And number 5 is basa. Basa, to kiss someone. Basa, because the b has no fatha, but there's an alif, so it's a long vowel alif. So it's basa. Basa. Anyone wants to take row B? Mhm. Kitty, let's go. Hello. Let's go. Hello. Sam. Yes. Mm-hmm. No, no, no. There's a shadda on the scene. Shadda and fatha. Shadda and fatha. Yes. Mm-hmm. Say it again. Bassa. Perfect. And satara. And yasudu. Perfect. Very good. Mhm. So the scene here has no haraka, but there's a wow. So yasudu. It's a long vowel oo sound. Yasudu. Anyone wants to take C? Ahmed. Okay, let's go. Yes, Ahmed. Let's go. Number one. Mm-hmm. Like C, C1. Faras, huh? Okay, perfect. Rus, because the ra has no haraka, but there's a wow, so we assume it's a long vowel wow or oo sound, so it's Rus. And again, Fasra. Perfect. Sufwan. Perfect. Perfect. Very good, Ahmed. Okay. I would take D and E, I guess. No one wants to participate. Okay, Maya. Perfect. Okay, D. Safara. Perfect. Can you say it again? I didn't hear you. Perfect. Nabasa. Like, Fasad. Fasad, because there's a long vowel alif. Fasad. And this one? Surur. Perfect. Perfect. Very good. Thank you, Maya. Okay. So E, I guess I'll take it. So how would I say this? It's Bassam. Bassam. There's no fatha on the shadda, but I know there's a fatha because of the alif. Bassam. Bassam. This one is Nafasa. Nafasa. This one is Sara. 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 This one is Sin has a fatha. The Yeh has a shadda and fatha because of the alif. It's a long vowel alif, long vowel a sound, and the re. So it's Sayyar. 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 And this may actually prove a peculiar case. This is a question that may arise in your head. Okay, if the alif is a long sound, the ye is, how is the ye geminated? Now, the gemination happens because basically, if you remember the shadda was basically two letters of the same letters come in succession. And one of them is sakin, has a sukun, and one of them has a haraka. And in this case, there are two ya basically, that one of them is sakin, that gives the y sound, and there's another one that gives the ya sound, which is the fatha. Is this point clear? How shadda happens, or what is the origin of shadda? Like basically, if I want to break down this shadda, the word would look like this. But because it looks wonky, it does not look nice, so we just like, yeah, you know what? Like, it's the same letter. Can't we just merge them together and make them one, but put a shadda on top? And that's how shadda was born. Uh, this final one is one of the common words you'd hear is mudarras, mudarras. Sorry, it's not mudarras. I went to something. It's mud, mudras. But mudarras, when the shadda is on the ra, means that it is what is being or what is taught, basically. Mudarras. Oh, and you can actually hear it in a different word. Mu, da, shadda with kasra. It can be mudarris. Mudarris is a teacher or someone who teaches, as in the word darasa, to study. Any questions with letter scene? because next up we're going to face our first difficult word or first difficult letter. Any questions? You can write them in discussion. You can raise your hand. So letter Sin seems to be okay. So the letter Sod. Sod is, we're almost done with the class, by the way. We have basically 3 more slides to go. And one of them is going to be a bit difficult, like a bit heavy. So the letter Sod, Sod is one of those letters that has no equivalent in other languages, as far as I know. It's a weird. It's one of those letters that give Arabic its special, unique sound, character. And if we were begin to describe it, we would say it's a velarized alveolar. Okay, what? This is a new word we just have seen, and it will come with time. You will become more frequent in next future slides. The word velarized, it comes from the Latin velum, and it's a part in your mouth that you will see here. We call it the palatine velum or the palatine velum. Basically, a soft palate is the fleshy part at the end of your mouth, at the back of your mouth. I do not tell you to touch it because you might like contaminate or bring things into your mouth. Uh, but if you look in the mirror and open your mouth, you'd see like the uvula, which is like the little fleshy thing that dangles. And this is where we call it the velum or the soft palate. There's the hard palate, which is like a bony part, the roof of your mouth. And what's right after it, what's right behind it, is the soft palate or the velum. So when we said that the sod is like a velarized, that means it comes or it's produced at this area, basically of your mouth. Unlike the Sin was produced here. No, this one is produced there. So, and the other quality of it that's being velarized is also being alveolar, which it resembles the Sin, as in it also comes in this area. So basically, the element of the sod, one element of the sod happens here, and the other element happens here. Basically, what happens? Alveolized or alveolar is produced not at the teeth like s, but a bit further back in the mouth, as in the tip of your mouth of your tongue will be in this area basically. Not at your teeth, but here. This is where your tip gets into at the alveolar ridge. Sod it does not touch it, of course, but it kind of your tongue will point to that direction, which basically tenses your tongue, makes your tongue a bit curvy, because if you bring it up here, the blade of your tongue will just depress and the back would just get here. Now, the trick of producing the letter sod is being able to push your tongue to the back to give it that o sound. If you notice, the sod has uh, unlike sad, sa. No, sod comes in the back. You can hear like the sound is actually happening at the back of your mouth, like at this area, basically. With careful listening, you would notice that, oh, the sound sounds emphatic. Like the closest example is, I would say, compare the English sass and sauce. Sauce, sauce. Do you know how the sound happens? This is the element that happens here. Sauce, sauce, oh, oh. Of course, I'm adding more emphasis just to show you that. Sauce, sauce. Uh, so alveolar, we said that it comes here. Velarized, the back part of the tongue is made tense with a slight raising toward the soft palate or the velum. So as we said, when we tense our tongue and push it back towards this area, the o sound of the sod happens. Because that's the only difference that between it and sin in Arabic. Sin doesn't have o quality to it, while the sod has. What makes it a different letter. Of course, this sound requires a lot of practice, a lot of because I cannot give you like a sure way of making that sound. Like I cannot give you a tip or a trick that would just make you produce that sound. It is basically a new skill that you have to learn. It's like riding a bicycle. No one of us is born knowing how to ride a bicycle, but with practice and training your muscles and you will start gaining the skill of being balanced, of how to balance your weight in a way that you can ride a bicycle. The same way with the letter sod. The letter sod is basically a very deep, emphasized way of saying the word sauce. You'd say sauce, sauce, oh. That oh is what gives that letter its character, its unique sound. Now, such great character does not come without a cost. Uh, some other consonants in Arabic share the same feature of having the oh sound, and we call them the velar consonants, as all these consonants that occur in this area, we call them the velarized or velar consonants, have an effect on the vowels. Especially, it's more pronounced on the long vowel ah. Now, how would we, like, what do I mean by the effect? Let's look at this table and listen very carefully, please, because that would just show you how different, like, this effect of these letters on fatha or on the long vowel alif. Let's start with this one. I would pronounce this as Sam, Sam, Sam. Do not focus on the s, but focus on the alif, on the ah sound. Sam, ah. But if I tried to pronounce this, I would go like Psalm, 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 oh, 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 Psalm. This one is Sam, Psalm, Sam, Psalm, Sad, Sod, Sad, Sod, San, Son, Sab, Sob, Sob, O, Sarah or Sar, Sar, Saw, Sath, Soth. Now, did you notice that different of quality of the alif? How the alif was, or how the ah sound was changed? This is a quality that will happen, we will face in the future letters, the difficult ones, like the th and the dah. And these we call them the velar consonants. This is a common feature because basically what happens is that sound being produced here and the sound basically being in the middle, we cannot technically shift the sound from here to here instantaneously. So the vowel just shifts back. But because of the scene does not have any velar component, does not have any element where it's produced in this area. Like scene does not get produced from here. Scene is basically here. So the scene can retain the sound normally. But in the sod, because it comes from here, we cannot just go from middle to back. We just, we cannot just shift, we cannot shift the other way around. We cannot go from here to here. So the sound of will just go back to become velarized, to become more emphasized. Sod, sara. Okay. Is the letter sod or like the basis of or the basics of letter sod clear? Because I can go through it over and over and read it more and more until like you get an idea of how the sound happens. This is one of the difficult sounds in Arabic. No one is asking in discussion. Yes. Any question, Maya? Okay, no questions. Okay, so this is where we discussed the vowel shift, but this one I will just look at it at more detail. There will be a lot of more to read, by the way. So I think there's a whole there's a whole part where we can read, but this one is just focusing on the vowel change or the ah sound changing or the ah sound. So
now we've paid more attention to the long vowel sound, especially the uh, we can see that the sound has two ways of being pronounced, or comes out in two different sounds, basically. So one, it's like the vowel in like in the English sad, after the letter sin, sada, sad, sad, or like the vowel o in the English sob, sob, he's sobbing, or the aw in saw, saw. Actually, the word saw, if you start building on top of the word saw, you can actually reach the letter sod. But you have to put more emphasis on the aw sound, make it more back, try to push it more back. A good tip I might give you, try to pronounce the letter, like the word saw, while you're lying down. Because when you're lying down, your tongue basically kind of falls back due to gravity, and you will be able to produce the saw sound more. Or try to get there, basically. Again, things are written in gray are basically not important. They are not core, but there are nuances for those who are curious and want to know more. If you want, we can go through them. If you don't, we can just jump right into the next one. But I will just read it over really quickly, and I will just, not add more info. So in American English, the S in sass and the S in sauce are the same, or sauce are the same, but the vowels do sound different in these two words. In Arabic, however, the vowels heard in these two words as variation of a single vowel. As in English, the A is kind of noted by an A, but here by an AU, so it's sauce. In Arabic, it's the same vowel but has two different ways of pronouncing. So basically, the evidence here, or how we can see it in application, is if we were to write the English word sass, it would be sin alif sin, so sass. But if we were to write the word sauce, it would be actually transliterated as sauce. But of course, Arabic, the sod in Arabic has more emphasis. So sauce does not sound like sauce, basically. But it's a good way of building towards that sound. Now, as we said, the velarized consonants in Arabic, there are only four of them, thankfully, sod being one of them, affect all vowels this way. Because as we said, it's not a property of the vowel, it's a property of the letter, of the consonant. And the consonant gets produced in the back of your mouth, and it's very hard to change from the back of your mouth to the middle of your mouth to produce different vowels. So the vowels kind of shift towards the velarized consonants. They're too powerful, they drag the vowels with them, not the other way around. Um, the affecting all vowels this way, causing them to be pronounced more back in the mouth. This effect extends to the short vowel fatha when next to a velarized consonant, produced like o in hot, caught, but it's shorter in duration. We will just see all this in the examples, don't worry, like in these reading examples. The vowels, now there's another one. Some vowels are kind of more back in the mouth, or too far away from the area of effect, or the area of the sod or these letters pronunciation. So they don't show the same degree of shift, especially with dhamma. Dhamma does not show a lot of effect or oo, because the oo sound is already at the back of your mouth, but you kind of have to round your lips to produce it. But the vowel quality of it comes from the back of your mouth. So the vowel already being at the back of your mouth and the sod being at the back of your mouth does not kind of cause a lot of issues. You can pronounce the oo sound kind of normally as you would with other letters. So let's start reading, and I want you to please read or listen carefully. Let's hear. This is where the wow happens, the wow fiasco. So listen carefully. Sur, sur, sur. There's a tiny degree of velarization or like emphasis, o sound, but it's not pronounced. It's not like saw, no. But sur, sur, soon, 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 soup, soup, soom, soom, seen, seen, seer or seer. Again, I would pronounce them again. I noticed that I repeated this one twice, so I'll jump it. Sur, sur, soon, soon, soup, soup, soom, soom, seen, seen, seer, seer. All the vowels show a degree of shift, but it's not as pronounced with the ah. The ah because it's a very different location and pronunciation, so it shifts more significantly, more like profoundly. Let's check with the alif, with the fatha. And you would notice a very different change or different contrasting change from the dhamma. Sabara, 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 sabara. Samana, somana, somana. Samana, somana. Sadama, صدم صدم مرس 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 نس نص 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 برس برص برص سيد سيد صيد سيد صيد سيف, which is sword, and صيف, which is summer. سيف صيف صي ص صيف سي 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 س سي سيف صيف ص سون. No, it's not سون, it's سون 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 صون صون صون. Okay, so is the difference or the vowel shifting between the with the velarized or the sod clear? Can you hear the difference? How is it from like sada and soda? O, sa, o. There's a different sound. Again, I tell you the trick to tell someone or to teach someone how to produce the sod sound is by basically trying to lie down and say the word saw, o, and try to emphasize that sound, the OW, that OW diphthong. So o, and you build with the so. It's basically start with a s, and the more you emphasize it, it becomes a so. Any questions with this letter sod or the vowel shift before we start to reading it? I would guess no questions. Okay. The letter sod, this one is just pertains to writing it. Of course, it's a connector letter, and it is a tricky one to write, maybe, but it's basically, it's written like this, sod, and you have to pay close attention to the independent form is as I written, sod. The joined one is basically the same, but you connect something to it, but I want you to pay attention here. Here, if you see the sod starts with like this, and there's a little seat, there's a little tooth that happens. So you have to be sure to add that tooth when you're writing. And that applies both in the initial point or when it's followed only by a letter, like soda, or joined on both sides as like you put a tooth. This is an important part of writing the letter sod and the one other letter that is its brother with a dot, dod. So let's read these words. برص برص نص نص نص. Notice like there's no much emphasis on the sound. It does not become o. No, it is نص نص. صاد بصر بص بصر. Let's start reading. Wow, okay. Anyone wants to give it a shot? I'm so like I know that we've almost at our point. We're almost an hour and a half, but this is the end of it, and then we're just going to go over the kasra and the long vowel e, sorry, which I think you already have a good idea on. Anyone wants to read? Maya, yes, please. Okay, I'm gonna zoom in so it's clear. Masun, yes. Nusus, yes. Masara. Masara, yes. This one. Basama, perfect. Safa, perfect. Anyone wants to take, thank you, Maya, thank you very much. Anyone wants to take Roby? Okay, I guess no one, so I'll take it. So, Sad has no fatha, so but there's an alif after it, so it's Sara, Sar. If there's a sukun here. Here is Nasafa, Nasafa, Nasafa. Sabara, Sabara. The Sad has a dhamma, the Fa doesn't, but it has a waw, so I know there is a long vowel U, so it's Sufuf, Sufuf. This one is Ya Fatha, it's a consonant. Ya Nussu, Ya Nussu. C is Samada, Samada. Sarafa, Sawt, Sawt, Sawt. Sanama, Sanama. Sadara, Sadara, Sadara. But the fatha here. Yeah. So the C here is Samada. Samada. Oh, okay, I read that. So D. So this one is tricky. Ba with a long vowel, Sa with a long vowel. So Basat, Basat, which is basically buses. Uh, and Darasa, Darasa, Nabasa, Fasad, Surur, and column E, or row E, sorry. Sawwara, Sawwara, Sadr, 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 Sadr means chest. Musawwar, Musawwar. But this one here, the sad has a sukun. How would I pronounce it? Masdur, Masdur, Masdur. This one, the sad has a sukun as well, but the waw has a fatha, and the waw here has a fatha, so it's not a vowel. It's not a long vowel. How would I pronounce it? Was, wasa, or was, was, was. So, again, of course, this lesson is recorded. You can go back to and listen to the different ways of pronouncing things if you want to read along and practice. The last one I'm gonna go over pretty quickly, and maybe we even omit, like I would read them, and maybe we'd see if anyone wants to read. But basically, it talks about the short vowel kasra and the long vowel ya or e. Basically, it's the e in English, as in bit, and always short in duration. The sound of kasra, great, but it's a really important one to know. I'm not saying that, oh, let's just skimp over it, but no. We have to know like how to pronounce the vowels, because basically Arabic with broken vowels, or if you cannot produce the right vowel, it's a complete different word. Like if you look here, the only difference between the English word here, or the English transliteration, and here is this part. So just one vowel changes everything. From mudarris, mudarris, into mudarras. Mudarris is a teacher, and mudarras is something that is taught, like a subject or a topic. The Arabic short vowel kasra, when adjacent to a velarized consonant, is also backed in consonant in pronunciation. It's also like, you know, in the back of your throat. And we will see if I have any sort of yeah, it's here. We'll just figure it out. So the long vowel E corresponds to the E in English machine, or EA is embed. It's twice as long as the E in duration, and this is almost like now has to be very basic knowledge for us. What is the difference between long and short? Uh, and again, as we said, the previous lesson is when we have a long and short vowel at the end of a word, the long ones usually sound short. And yes, there's nothing you can like do to prevent it. You will basically train yourself to realize, oh, okay, if this is a long or a short one. It comes with listening, it comes with practice, it comes with reading. Let's read the reading part. If anyone wants to read, this is your time. If not, I can just go through them. Okay, I'll just go through them then. So the A is Sayyid, 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 Sayyid. So here is Dhana bi, Dhanabi, Dhanabi. Here the meme has a kasra and the noon is sukun is min, min. And this is one of the basic words you'll have to learn in Arabic is min is from. Ana min, I am from. Uh, da, da, r, bi, darbi, dar, darbi, darbi, or daribi. Aha. Now, this is also one of the words that will be, or this ye in the end. This ye, given that there's no vowel, so it's a long vowel kasra, so it's darbi, darbi, darbi. And this ya will also come in grammar as the possessive suffix. It's my thing, my house, bayti. Okay, the B row is nafisa, 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 babi, 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 and babi, 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 babi. But here it's babi, babi. You know, مررت بباب الحقل مثلا, like when it's in genitive. babi. فمي, فمي, but this one is فمي, فمي, فمي يؤلمني, my mouth hurts or my teeth hurts. فمي يؤلمني, or فمي, فمي. Notice that the end of the word, the long and short kind of sound similar, but this is where reading happens. So the row C is مدير. Meme has a dhamma, the dal has a kasra, and the ya has sukun because it's a long vowel, so it's مدير, مدير. Ra, fatha. The b has a kasra because there's a ya, there's no vowel, so it's, and there's a ya after it, so it's a long E sound, long kasra. So it's Rabib, Rabib, Rabib. There's one here, fa has a fatha, the re has no vowel, but there's a ya, so it's a long kasra. So it's Farid, Farid. There is this one, se has a fatha, the meme has no voweling, but there's a ya, so it's Samin, 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 Samin. Okay, now let's assume that we have a letter Sad. And this is a meme, by the way, and this is the tooth of the Sad. So how would I pronounce it? Samin, Samin. Compare between Samin and Samin. Samin, Samin. Barid, 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 Ri, Rid. This one here, Ta with the fatha, Mim with a sukun. The Re has no vowel, but there's a Ya after it, so it's a long E sound. So it's Tamreen, Tamreen, Tamri, Tamreen. The sad here has no vowel, but there's a ya, so it's a long vowel. Sin, sin, which is China. This one, the sin has a fatha. The re has no vowel, but there's a ya after it, so it's sarir, sarir, sarir. There is the re has a fatha. The noon has no vowel, but there's a ya, so it's a long vowel e. So ranin, ra, ranin, ranin, ranin. This one here is easy because there's no long vowels. Why? Because the dal has a fatha, the sin has a kasra, and the mim has a sukun. Let's assume it has a sukun. So it's dasim, dasim, dasi, dasim, dasim. Dasim means like has a high content of fat, basically. When it comes to milk or something, you say dasim. E, sir, si, si, sir, sir, sir. Sir means walk, as you're ordering someone to walk. Or, you know, we call it the imperative. This one, the th has no fatha, nothing, but has an alif, so it's a long vowel. Th. The b has a kasra. This one has a kasra, just assume, as in thabit. Thabit. Thabit means fixed or stable. So the meme here has a fatha. The dal has nothing, but there's a ya, so we know it's a long vowel e. So it's madin, madin, madin. Here, this is also one of the common words you're going to face learning in your beginning or your early steps. Is the b has a kasra, the noon has a kasra, has a sukun, and the ta, let's say, has a sukun because it's the end of the word. So how would I say it? I would say bint, bi, bint. Bint means girl. Of course, it's one of the words that means girl, but hey. Uh, this one, the noon has no voweling, but there's an alif, so it's a long vowel, and the dal has a kasra, and assume the ra has a sukun, so it's nadir. Nadir. Nadir means rare. Nadir. Di. Nadir. Anyways, this is lesson 4. Okay. So far, we have to conclude our lesson today because it was a bit heavy, I guess. So, anyone has any questions regarding the whole thing? Anything that is not clear, something you want me to say again? Why is that thing this? Why is that that? Is there anything I can make it more clear for you? I would assume there is nothing. No one is. Okay, someone is. Everything was clear. Okay, I am really happy to hear that. Terra Kitty, yes. So, in a bit, I'm going to upload this PDF. It will be labeled lesson 3. And maybe by like 5 hours or 4 hours from now, the video will be in the lessons, like the YouTube video will be in the lessons section. So you can watch it later and maybe go through the voices, go through the sounds, and I do really hope that you try to pronounce and imitate these letters because like if you attend all the like lectures in the world, if you listen to everyone, yes, that's the part of it because the muscles are still like they're not trained to kind of produce that sound. So yeah, it's going to happen, but once you kind of practice, it will become second nature. You'll just be pronouncing it. And I would suggest don't tire your throat too much for now because the next one or the next letters are going to be as difficult. and so you give your throat a bit of rest. So until then, tomorrow, inshallah, we'll continue with the lesson number 4. And tomorrow, I'm going to give you a sneak peek. We're going to learn about 4 consonants: the z, which is very simple, the sh, as in shake, and the l, as in lamb or leaf, and the new second sound that has no equivalent in English, which is the ta, ta, ta sound. Basically, a very, like, it's the t but stronger. So it's ta. And it's also another velarized consonant that causes the same effect on the fatha as the sad. Ta. You can actually sell the same ta thing. And then we're going to learn a new thing about the vowels, because in Arabic, when they thought about the vowels, it was like, okay, why not have 2 of them and just make it more vowely? And we call it nunation or tanween. Basically, Maya, I would guess in 4 weeks would be done with all the alphabet, with all its nuances, like the Hamza and the ways to write Hamza, how Hamza comes and how Hamza goes. And we would also kind of go over something like the Alif Khanjariya or the Dagger Alif, the Alif Maqsura. These are things that usually most of the alphabet lessons kind of omit. And then you start reading Arabic and you see them, and I was like, okay, why is this there? Why is that not there? We did not learn this. So probably in 4 weeks, like now we're lesson 4, so probably by lesson 8, we'll be done with the alphabet, and then we're going to start another series of classes that caters to beginners in Arabic, in MSA, in Standard Arabic, not dialect, which basically starts with a little bit of grammar, a little bit of reading, like actual reading, not just words. No, we read sentences, we read an introduction, how to introduce yourself, and we learn the grammar behind them, and we build from there. The next series of classes, I don't know how long it's going to take, but inshallah, it's going to be like another 10 classes or 10 lectures. Each is going to be 1.5 to 2 hours long every weekend. I wish I could do more of these classes, but I'm kind of tied or constrained with my work. I cannot do it in midday because I usually come back at 5 p.m. my time or 4 p.m. my time, where it's already 12 a.m. server time. So yeah, until then, inshallah, like we have 4 more lessons. We'll cover everything: the difficult sounds, the easy sounds, and I hope by the end of lesson 8 you'll be able to read Arabic like almost with no problem. Yeah, by lesson 8, everyone is going to participate in reading. By the way, yeah, we're not going to do it in the hall. We're going to do it in a normal class where everyone can actually read. So yeah, until then, tomorrow, inshallah, same time, same place. I will make an event right now, and I will upload this PDF. And until then.